All right, we are talking about the importance of brain community and how it helps your overarching mission. So really excited to moderate this with Beatrice. So I think we're going to get started with the introductions. Yeah, Beatrice, do you want to start?
This one, they were placed in the right place. 3 was the first chair.
I think they need the mic.
Right.
Okay, we're good. All right. So you said introduction.
Yes.
So I am Beatrice Dixon, co-founder, CEO of the Honey Pot Company, also the Chief Innovation Officer at the Honey Pot Company.
Great.
Yeah.
And what is it that you guys do?
So Honey Pot is a vagina brand.
Yes.
We are, we serve humanity. Our goal is essentially to change the way that humans with their vaginas think about their vaginas, experience their vaginas. So much guilt and shame happens. I'm going to say vagina a lot. But we all came from a vagina, so it's cool.
Yes.
And then not only that, we're a human first brand,
Right.
And we serve at the pleasure of humanity through our products, through our education, through our content, through everything we do.
Yes, I love it. And then for anyone out here with Okendo, we are a Shopify ratings and review app. And so we serve over 5,500 merchants across all different verticals, powering their reviews and ratings. So we also do user-generated content, showing imagery, really helping build a lot of the brand community around brands. And so this was actually a perfect fit, I feel like, for our panel. So that's a little bit about me and Okendo. So just to get started, would love to know why you founded the Honey Pot.
I got started with Honey Pot because I had bacterial vaginosis for almost a year. And literally nothing that I tried worked. I would go to the doctor, I would take medicine, I would get on Google and put all kinds of things in my body that I shouldn't have because I was just trying to get relief, And one morning, my grandmother came to me in a dream and told me essentially what to do.
Okay.
And in the dream, we were just sitting down at a table talking.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me she had been walking with me and seeing me struggle. And she handed me a piece of paper, and it had a list of ingredients on it. Mm-hmm. And those ingredients are literally the ingredients that make up our normal feminine wash. Mm-hmm. But it was simple things. It was water, it was coconut oil, it was apple cider vinegar, garlic, very basic things.
Right.
But And the thing that you have to realize is that I never met my grandmother because she transitioned when my mother was very young. So this is the first time I'm meeting her in a dream. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really a dream. It was real,
Right.
And so she told me that she wasn't there for us to talk. She was there to give me what was on this paper, and she wasn't going to be there long. Mm-hmm. And so I just started to read what was on the paper over and over and over again and just repeat it over and over and over again. And then when I woke up, because she told me to wake up, I woke up repeating the ingredients. So it wasn't so that's why I'm saying it was real. And I kept a pen and paper by my bed, and and I wrote down what she told me, mm-hmm. because I had bacterial vaginosis at the time, right? So it wasn't like, it wasn't like I didn't need it at that moment. Mm-hmm. And I worked at Whole Foods, so I went to work, and I bought all the things as much as I could. And then I went home, and I made myself a formula because my background is in pharmacy.
Okay.
And I used to work in IV rooms, so I knew how to kind of formulate stuff, I knew how to do the math to
Right.
make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I made myself the wash based on what she told me to do, mm-hmm. and I started using it. And literally, it's funny because every time I use the bathroom, and this is TMI, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, because I'm saying it so that we can set ourselves free, right? Because it's cool, it's okay, right? Vaginas stink, they get infections sometimes. They don't stink all the time, but they can stink. right? They bleed, they get infections, you know, STDs are a thing.
Right.
All of these things under the sun are absolutely normal, right? Under normal circumstances, your vulva, your vagina is probably fine, but these things happen. And so every time I would go to the bathroom, I would smell myself because that's what my PTSD caused me to do.
Right.
Because when you have an infection for almost a year, right, it makes you super conscious and aware of how you smell and what you're doing and when you're taking a shower and you don't want to be physical. And I just did not have confidence, you know?
Right, yeah.
And so it's funny because I made the wash, I used it straight away, and then for a few days I wasn't smelling myself. I wasn't doing the thing because I was fine.
Right, it gave you the peace of mind.
Yeah, and then like 4 or 5 days later, I did the normal thing. I went pee and I went to smell myself. And I was like, huh, you know what? I don't have BV anymore. And then honestly, it never came back.
Wow.
And so, you know, that doesn't mean I haven't had it between now and then. You know, it's 12, 15, whatever, however many years later. But my point is that what my grandmother told me in the dream worked. And so literally in that moment, sitting on the toilet, going pee, I said to myself, this is what I do now.
Yes.
Because if it could work for me, then it could work for all those other humans that lived on those forums. I mean, I used to be on Google forums.
Right.
To try to figure, because we would exchange notes. What works for you? What works for you? This worked for me. You know, it was crazy. And it still happens to this day. It's not like BV ever went anywhere.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's been around since vaginas ever, right? And so, you know, so but that's how I got started.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story so much. And then
I'm gonna take my shoes off, y'all, because these shoes are heavy. And I'm gonna sit like this because I got shorts on. So.
No, I love that. I love, and then from there, just kind of scaled and grew.
From there, we didn't quite hit scale.
Yeah, had the ups and downs.
Oh, girl. Ups and downs. That's funny. It's when you have a business, you just have to be married to the fact that you have ups and downs.
Right.
It's actually quite easier when you're smaller. Once you get big, whatever that means, is when things get complicated because there's more humans to manage. There's more people buying your brand. You know, there's more people experiencing it. It's gonna work for the mass amount of people, but then there's people that it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? So from there, for a year and a half, I didn't do anything. I gave the product away.
Okay. Yes.
Because I wanted to make sure that was like my ghetto clinical trial. That was my hood clinical trial, but I needed to do a version of a clinical trial because it was a vulva product. You can't just throw something out there. That's not responsible.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that, you know, because one thing, I worked in the food business and the consumer packaged goods space for like 10 years of my life. After I left pharmacy, that's what I went to do. And the thing is, when you make a food product, it can't be too sweet, it can't be too salty, it has to be just right. When you make a skincare product, it has to be gentle. It has to be enough, so it has to be good enough so that anybody can use it for the most part. Right? And so for a year and a half, I gave it away in the interest of getting people's reaction because I needed to know if it was too strong, if it was too light. You know, in that time, we found out that little girls could use our wash because one of the humans that was using the wash, her baby would cry every time she went to wash her vulva with the baby products, and so she started using Honey Pot. And then it became a thing with her daughter because her daughter would be like, Mommy, I want the Honey Pot, you know? And so it almost created this culture, not accidentally because I wanted to do it, because my mother taught me, and I'm sure every human with a vagina in here can agree. Your mommy taught you what she knew. My mommy taught me what she knew. right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they knew a lot.
Yeah,
and some people's mommies don't teach them anything because nobody taught them anything. And so then that was the moment where I realized, wow, Honey Pot is a cultural brand because it helps humans with vaginas to connect to different generations,
Right.
right? And so then we, a year and a half goes by. Bronner Brothers Hair Show is coming to Atlanta, right? if you're gonna do it, there ain't nothing but humans with vaginas walking around, And I got on my hands and knees and I begged my brother, who's my co-founder, to give me some money because I didn't have any. And I told him, if this doesn't work, because he had given me a credit card. He's my co-founder that had a $500 balance, and that's how I would buy those ingredients to make the products to give them away. So it wasn't like he was making money. He was just paying for this for me for a year and a half. And then, and he was like, B, I don't know anything about that, right? So, like, I don't know, because he's an accountant.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so
he doesn't know.
he's an accountant.
Right.
And so, and it's important, I tell this story so that you guys can really understand, like, Honey Pot comes from nothing, right? It wasn't like we had, startup experience and worked for some big thing and we just wanted to create something so we could just exit it and skip. That wasn't the vibe, And so I got on my hands and knees and I begged him. And I said, if this doesn't work, you'll never hear from me again. I will not ask you about this. I will not bring it up. But if it does, we're doing it. And
Here you
works.
are. Here you are.
So we went, thank you. We went to the Bronner Brothers Hair Show. We made 600 bottles, and we sold all 600 bottles in like 3 days. It was insane.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. It actually was perfect. I didn't do it on purpose, but perfect for my next question. With the community that you built with your products, how has that been important to the Honey Pot's growth?
It's the only thing that matters.
Right.
Our tagline used to be, we are nothing without you. Now it's made by humans with vaginas for humans with vaginas because it takes one to know one, right? But it still goes all the way back to the beginning of time. All of these brands here, think of everything that we have bags on and lanyards and rings and watches and jewelry. All of that stuff is brands. Brands cannot exist without humans. And so it's everything to who we are.
Right.
Which can be controversial because I live in a society that calls me black, right? I see myself as human. That doesn't mean that I don't love my culture because I do. But so while humanity and humans are so essential to what we do, it can be hard. And I'm just telling y'all facts because this is just real. This is what we're going through. And a lot of the humans that are here are in business. And there is a plight that comes with being a black-owned business.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because the humans that kind of bring you up are typically going to be the humans that you can relate to very easily. And in the black community, that was a thing, And so it's essential. I've always thought of us as a human brand.
Right.
Yes, we are black-owned and all the things. But, it's interesting, because when you grow, there's a thing that happens being a black-owned brand, and I'm personally trying to navigate it, because when you experience a level of growth, sometimes it feels like in the community that you're not still serving
right.
the community that feels that brought you to where you are, which the Black community did bring us to where we are. But the interesting thing about it is that we're all humans, right? And and in my opinion, it's really important that we understand that as brands and that we understand what comes with that.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And so I mention it because I'm going through a moment right now where that does come in question.
It does.
When it could be further from the truth, you know?
Right. I completely agree with where you're coming from, just from being in business and seeing that. It's like, it's a negative connotation, and it can be perceived negatively in terms of like success and how successful you get. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like
it is, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I think you gotta get through it.
It doesn't have to be. I think it's all in your acceptance and your responsibility to the humans that you serve, right? The thing that's important that I try to remember, because sometimes, like when we had a viral moment, I don't know if any of you guys know this, we had a viral moment a few weeks ago, right? And if I don't mention it, it's the elephant in the room, right? And that's just silly, so I'm just gonna talk about it. And and when you have that much energy thrown at you, and I'm gonna speak for myself towards me, it's hard navigating through that because you're working really hard to make sure that you don't believe the energy that everybody's throwing your way, you know? Because I know why we started this brand. We started this brand for vaginas, for all the vaginas in the world, on the planet, walking in it, whatever, right? And I've never not said that, right? And so it can be a double-edged sword, but I think it's really important as we all here, I think it's very important to really nail down in your truth and really understand where you've come from and what your goals are and what you've always put first.
Right.
You know? But I do think that it's important in the Black community that we figure out a way to address that, because it can be hard when you do hit scale, you know,
right.
To want to serve your community but not serve at the fault of yourself, you know. It's hard.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so have you found, how is your mission woven into your community ethos? And I think you've done a good job of explaining that. But do you think the customers can tell when a mission is authentic versus manufactured?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's authentic, it's authentic. You don't have to try, you know? And that's one of the things that we've really nailed down into and drilled down into, is that we do what we do because this is what we do. We mean it from the bottom of our soul.
Right.
Right? And I feel like when you mean that from the bottom of your soul, there's nothing that can penetrate that.
Right.
You know?
Do you have any advice for brands who are trying to figure out, maybe they have the mission, maybe it's not resonating, like anything that you've done to kind of like make sure that drills that authenticity? To pay attention to why it's not resonating. And don't try to make something resonate that's not. Right. Right. Yeah. And also I think it's important to go back to why you got started, go back to what made you get into this business in the first place. I think that it's really important to serve humans. I say that a lot because I think that it's really important to do that. Because if you're just going after specific humans, right, then you're kind of cornering yourself. And if you make it human-led, right, and human first, it actually helps to create an authenticity within your brand, because then you can align to what humans need. Right. And then another thing, as founders, I think it's really important that we kind of double down, because a lot of times as founders, you're trying to think of things
from the brand place, not realizing that you are actually, I'm going to use this word, I hate this word, but that you are a consumer yourself, right? And so try to think of what you need when you're buying whatever the thing that it is that you're selling. What made you want to do that, right? And what would make you, if you were the person that was going to buy that thing, what would move you? And also talk to people that you love, that love you, talk to strangers, and figure out what would make them want to buy the thing that you're selling, right? Because I think a lot of times we don't do that data from like the ground floor. We just move with what we think, you know, but data is king.
Right.
Or queen, however you want to say it.
I'm in marketing, so it is one of those things that I think about all the time where it's sometimes hard to think about. You get lost in the data and you start thinking about people as just like numbers or consumers or cohorts or target audience, and then you do have to take like that step back of really going back to what is our value, what do people like it's different from a software company, B2B versus B2C, but it is, again, taking the step back and thinking about who, like, I am a human, my emotions, what do I resonate with, what are the needs that I need if I need a tech product, and really just pinpointing that and like really working with the product marketing team to make sure that is communicated and how are we helping people. Like at the end of the day, it's like, how are we helping people? We have thousands of customers who love us, so like lean into that. So exactly. I get it from your end too, and I just wanted to
don't look at them as consumers.
Right.
Don't. I can't tell you what to do, but that's just my advice. Don't think about your customers as consumers. They are human beings that need things, that want things, that may be able to benefit from the thing that you have to sell. And so, you know, think at it from a cellular level. Don't think at it from a level of you just want somebody to buy your shit. Like, that's not the vibe. You know what I mean? It has to come from some place that means something that's real. You know, otherwise, it's going to communicate. People, especially this generation today, man, they're in it.
Oh, they know.
They're in it, and it's beautiful. If it ain't it, they're going to say it's not it.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's wrong or right, it does not matter. If, you know, in the way that the world works, social media can take you down, man. Right? So it has to be real.
Right.
And if it's not authentic, then you're going to be trying to figure out what do you do when, you know, even if something goes down, you're going to be trying to figure out what do you do. But if you're coming from an authentic place, it's not as hard to figure it out because you know what made you get into it in the first place.
Exactly. It's like throughout all of the twists, turns, up, down, it's staying
real.
True to that mission, and that will continue to guide you no matter what. So next question, have you found reviews in UGC helpful in terms of bringing people together and fostering that community?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Make skincare products, right? We make vulva care products. Like anything I buy, I want to see if anywhere I eat, anywhere I go where you're going to touch my body or put something into my body, I want to know what other people thought about it, you know? And I won't even go to a restaurant unless it has 4 stars.
Right, yeah.
I don't even want to stay in a place unless it has 4 or 5 stars, right?
Yep.
I don't want to go to a spa and people gave it 2 stars. And even if a few people gave it 1 star, it still makes me question, you know? So I think user-generated content, you know, reviews are essential because how people experience your products or your brand, whether that be a service or a product, it matters. Once again, because we make products for humanity.
Right.
And if the shit don't work, then you know what I mean?
They'll let you know.
Then what's the point? If it's food and it doesn't taste good, why should somebody buy it? If it's skincare and it doesn't serve and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, why should somebody use it? There's responsibility in making things, right? You don't just make things to sell things. That is not responsible. It's not kind. It's not responsible. It's not sustainable. It's just not. It has to, in my opinion.
No, it's just you're going to waste a lot of money.
It has to come from, it has to be something real. Otherwise, and that doesn't mean that there isn't tons of things in the world that aren't real, that are making absurd amounts of money. I'm aware of that. I just don't come from that camp, and I'm not cut from that cloth, you know?
Oh, good. And then that brings me to my next point. Inclusive wellness is so important to the Honey Pot. So how has the health and wellness space evolved since you started? And on the other end of that, what progress do you think still needs to be made?
I think the health and wellness space has become, it's become the way that, I remember when I worked at Whole Foods, when I first started working there, you could put organic on anything. You
Yeah,
could.
you could, actually.
You could say anything was natural. There still isn't mandates on natural yet, right? Actually, there is. If something's naturally derived, then it comes from a real thing, right? It comes from like water or something like that. But I was at Whole Foods seeing the transition when the USDA made a certifying body, right? That if you said that your product was organic, then it had to go through the test.
Right.
Right? You had to go to this body. They had to come and look at your warehouses. They had to analyze everything.
That was the USDA organic label.
Yeah, the
right?
USDA organic certification.
Yeah.
Same thing with non-GMO. Same thing with gluten-free. Same thing with all these things, right? And so when you think about every grocery store that you shop at, there's an organic section now, right? Or it may not be in its own section, but it's on the shelf next to the conventional products. That is the future.
Right.
People care about, we understand now, and once you know, you can't unknow what you need to know about taking care of your body, right? And I feel like we're in this age where being well, self-care, wellness, happiness, good health, checking in with yourself, taking inventory, you know what I mean? Like, these are all the things that, this is what our vocabulary, this is what our vernacular is now. And when that's the case, everything around you has to kind of feed into that. And so I feel like natural, clean, efficacious, science-backed, this is where the world is going, you know? And us brands really have to pay attention to that. Because if we're going to continue to serve humans with our products, you have to give them what they want.
And then on the other end, what progress do you think needs to be made, knowing where it's going?
I'd like to see race come out of the conversation, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to see, but that means a lot, though.
Right, yeah.
That means a lot. I know that that's a mouthful, right? And I'm not saying it because of my trauma that I'm dealing with. That's only a tiny part of that. You know, I wish that retailers didn't have to make pledges for how many black-owned businesses they put on the shelf. Right? I mean, it's good that we're moving in the right direction. I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm just saying I wish that that wasn't even a thing. Right? I wish that there was more, from my research, more than one black-owned business, or excuse me, one black-owned, one woman-owned company that has ever IPO'd, ever, right? I wish that there were more than 9 black-owned businesses on the stock market, right? You know, I wish that black women receiving venture capital wasn't like a millimeter of a percent. Right. And that's runs the gamut for not just black people, but women, right? Asian people, Latin people, people from all different cultures. I wish that these weren't conversations that we needed to have. I wish that people wouldn't ask me, what does it feel like to be a black-owned business, a black-owned, woman-owned business in today's world? It feels like I'm running a business. Why does my skin and my vagina have to be a part of the conversation? You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
So,
completely.
you know, like, and that's the thing, is that when we feed into the bullshit, it doesn't make it any better, right? If we could all just, in my opinion, if we all synced up and understood that race was a construct, that gender was a construct, that all these things were put in order just to keep us in line and in order, right? So, to me, that has to happen at the base. Why is my brand, why am I right now being held to a standard that most humans are not held to? Right? But it doesn't matter. We're here for it. It is what it is.
Right.
Right? But why? Because there's trauma, there's PTSD. We are, and when I say we, I'm saying black people have not been served. We have not been cared for. We have not had the same resources. We have not had the same access. A lot of times when black-owned brands do get large, and do experience exits in big situations, a lot of times things do change.
Yeah.
There is valid reasons why Honey Pot and other brands that are in this room are gonna be held to that ridiculous standard, right? But the thing too to remember is that it doesn't just happen with only black-owned businesses, right? It's happening with Daily Harvest. It's happening with a lot of companies.
Right.
But what's important is that we all remember that the humans that are running these companies are made of blood, skin, flesh, and bone. We're human. And we have to remember that. It's so easy to get behind a phone. I'm just saying this because this is some real shit, y'all. It's easy to jump on a bandwagon. It's not easy to run a brand. I don't care what color your skin is. It's not easy to raise money. It's not easy to make products. It's not easy to manage people and retailers and teams. It's not easy. It is to make, to formulate things.
Right.
Based on new standards, based on government bodies. You can't just do things, and you don't realize it until you get to a certain level within your business. And then you're like, damn, that's what they was talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, these are the things that I would like to see change. But I think at the base of it, we need to do a better job as humanity giving people grace.
That was great. I've time for one more question for you. And I think you've covered, honestly, some of the questions I had. But as you've built your brand, is there anything that you wish you knew and maybe would have done differently?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
There
Great.
isn't.
Great. I love it.
And you know why? Because mistakes are so important.
Yeah.
Failure is so important. Going viral and being the multiple times and whether it's positive or negative is so important, right? Going through terrible things is important. You know why? Because that's just life.
You persevere. You get through it.
And everything's gonna be okay. You just gotta. Sometimes the only way to get through the shit is to climb through the shit, and then when you get through it, you take a shower and you dust off, and then until the next pile comes, right? You just keep moving, because everything's gonna be all right. This is not easy, but we all knew it when we signed up for it.
Right.
Right? And honestly, there is nothing that I would change.
Yes.
For the world.
I love it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Love you. Take care of yourselves.
Yes.
I got to say that to myself, too. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to take care of yourself, we also have massages and essential oil over in the Okendo booth. And if you need to charge up your phone. Thank you.